I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a full agenda tonight, so. Has everyone looked at last month's minutes? Oh, I'm sorry, roll call.
Roll call. Steve Carter
Here.
Steve Barthel here.
Susan Schneider. Greg Gordon is excused. Okay, so, minutes from last month.
I'll make a motion that we accept the meeting, our minutes from the last meeting. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the finance committee, Steve, you want?
Yes. We had, for August 11th, we had checking and savings of $695. We had total liabilities and equity of $694. We had a profit and loss to the city of $386. Bills that are due to be paid are $87.50.93. I make a motion that we pay those bills. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Police report. Scott gave us a letter there. I don't know if you have had time to read it.
Yeah.
Are we out of order?
No.
This one.
Oh,
If there are any questions of the police report, I'd be happy to answer. And the only thing that you guys really need your attention or vote on is Officer Schultz has been promoted to lieutenant, and I request that you give her a 50-cent an hour pay raise to reflect that promotion.
I make a motion that we approve that raise. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you find something out about the vehicle that they were trying to total?
No, we haven't yet. I'm still waiting on the insurance company to get the numbers back to me, and once they get something back to me, then we'll be taking it to repair shops to get an actual total of what it's going to be on the repairs.
The vehicle that had the
Push bumper damage from the UTV pursuit arrest,
One go down the woods.
where they went into the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, the insurance company came out to look at it, and he says he can't say for certain, but he wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being total due to possible frame damage.
All right, well, to be continued. Congratulations, Officer Schultz.
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant, are you standing up? No, you stand up and say hello to the crowd.
Most of them don't.
Everybody knows it.
Okay, Public Works, there's an awful lot of reports here to have. Do you have anything to add to any of the,
For the most part, like I said, we didn't get much done on roads this month. As everybody knows, we had a water main break and we've been trying to bleed the lines out. During that initial storm, we have a feeling that lightning struck Tower 2, fried a lot of the components there. So right now, both towers are working manually only. This one came online this morning. It seems like it fired up on its own, and it shut off on its own, but there's no guarantee it hasn't cycled again yet. Tower 2 is still being run manually. Like I said, we got the brake fixed, we got all the air let out. Doesn't look like we got much dirt in the water lines, which is always a plus. Everybody knows that, just so that everybody knows, that was not a Doyle mandatory order. That was suggested. That was recommended to us by the Missouri Rural Water Association. And so, like I said, just make sure everybody's clear on that. That was not a mandatory. Other than that, I'm still having problems with the one lift station down on Maui. Still not too sure what's going on there. We tried to build up the outer edges. Apparently it didn't work last night. The other one has to deal with the landing of the towers. My recommendation would be to go with the 10-year one. I'm going off the Missouri Rural Water Association. That's what they kind of recommended. They looked at it because it's a thicker seal and it's a better seal than the other one. The other one is more for they're just gonna cover it lightly over the bolts and the seams through the whole system, but it's gonna be small and light. Again, if you think I covered pretty much everything that was there, if you have any other questions, you feel free to ask.
We have the pricing difference between 7 and 10 year warranty.
Yes, there is a difference, but it's not a lot. Oh, that's the other one. The lift station behind sorry, I don't have my sheet in front of me. It's disappeared. So also there's that one lift station behind the laundromat. Something does have to be done with that. That's an old system that was back when Larry's meat shop. Some of you may know, some of you may not. It was set up for that and Clark's Tire. Now it's a laundromat. It cannot keep up. I would recommend going with the lower one of $5,000, almost $6,000. That is a large pump. They will recondition everything, and that's labor. LOE came in, I think, 15? I think it was on there. That's putting in a dual pump system, switching out the tank, but that does not include labor.
Right.
So again, I would recommend going for the $6,000 one. I think that also comes with a 7-year warranty on it.
Well, are you talking about the grinder pump station?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
it says Enviroline at 19,871, and then it says Haynes at 5,300.
Yes.
That's a lot of difference.
Well, what Enviroline's saying is they're gonna yank a whole and put in a whole new tank, a whole new system, double pump. Haynes says that their pump, being a much larger one, would be able to handle it.
And they think you are confident it pays 5,300?
I've done some background look. They have done work for us and we've never had any problems with it.
Haynes is your current.
Is that, I mean, do
They're
you have
your,
anything to add to whether we should go with one or the other?
Haynes is your current equipment supplier
Okay.
with this project.
This Enviroline is just somebody else that came in bid.
Enviroline,
But they're
who
both-
actually handles our system
Oh,
right now.
that is LOE?
No, Enviroline and Haynes Equipment are both here locally in Sunrise Beach.
Okay.
They're
Well, that's kind of not too hard to decide which one to
Not for me.
But something
Yeah,
really
I
has to be
understand.
done there. It
Okay.
cannot handle, it can't even come close to handling what that water. If you, even at your own house, you know how much washing machines spin water. They spin a ton.
And they're ready to work right now. We approve this bid. Haynes,
As far as I know, it would be in the near future.
did you see that part? Yeah. So,
I make a motion to make a proposal for Haynes to do the repair work.
I second it.
all in favor?
I,
And that comes with some kind of warranty too, I'm seeing in
Yes.
Ireland. Okay. Okay, there's nothing, new about the allocation of the water or anything.
No.
We've got both, water tanks full
They're
again?
full, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, what I've been doing is going over to Tower 2. I turn it on manual. Tower 2 will fill both. I just gotta watch because once this one hits 115, anything over 115, it will overflow. Which I have on my app, and Scott's been kind enough to put it on his, so he can help me kind of keep an eye on it. That's what kind of happened Saturday going into Sunday. I didn't turn both on, I just turned the one on, hoping that, just throw a long night fill. I fired it up, I think about 8 o'clock, came back to Tower 2 at 9 o'clock. They were sitting relatively at about 1012 here, and I think it was right at about 125, I think it was. Right around in through there. So, I mean, we can, but that tower was supposed to get checked out today, and I think I hadn't heard from it, but they're supposed to check it out and figure out what's got fried over there, and they were supposed to get back to me today, but have not as of this moment. I do apologize, I have not gotten to any of the road issues, but between the water line and now the ongoing problems with the tower and the lift station.
Thank you, Eddie.
Economic development, I have on here Como request. Como is requesting two things from us. They want to be annexed in, however, they do want water and sewer, and they would like us to think about some kind of a tax abatement to offset that. They're talking about over 50,000 in taxes to us, so it's a good move for us. And they also would like us to work with MoDOT in trying to get some sort of a lane extension, because they're gonna be doing all their purchasing and have all their trucks in this location now, and there'll be a lot of traffic going in and out of there.
So they can talk about putting in an extended turn
Maybe an
lane.
extended turn lane like they're doing at O Road right now.
Exactly.
He said that would be perfect. So, I'm meeting with Como this week, and with, Lake
I need to
Ozark.
leave, Tower 2's running, it's gonna overflow.
Okay, thanks, Andy.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Question, when you say they're gonna bring in 50,000, is that from sales tax?
sales tax. They will be doing all of their purchasing, point of sale will be here.
Okay.
And that is, they're extending their services all the way to Warsaw. And so they're making that their main purchasing point. And, we've been going back and forth with them on water and sewer for quite a while. But, and Lori, the other city that's, next to us, has been talking to them also. One of the things that they like about Sunrise Beach, number one, they're closer to Sunrise Beach, but also that they would like for us to work with them on the highway and then the taxes. We don't have the total cost. We have an idea of what it's gonna cost us to go to them from where our phase 3 ends. And you're talking about going up Highway 5, correct, Jared?
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet, okay. So, I mean, this
We
is
have-
the new
that's an option.
stages, but that is one of the, there's two options, and we're gonna obviously try the cheaper one, so.
Do you wanna talk for a minute about what the tax options would be?
It would be nice to know that we could offer something like that when we talk to them next, yes. I mean, it's not a big hurry, but yes.
Well, a lot of the incentives are property tax basis, so that's work for you guys. So the two that come to mind, one would be TIF, that's a lot of work for that kind of a project. And the other, what I think would probably be most appealing is, essentially it's a sales tax rebate. So what would happen there is that the city would simply pay them back the sales tax that they've paid. So it would go through revenue, come back to the city, and then the city would write them a check. And I would say up till the amount that you hit, either what their total costs are or some percentage of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that does seem quite simple.
It's a pretty simple way. Actually, we've done that with a lot of marijuana places. Which you have a nice new shiny one.
Yeah. Two,
Oh, yes. Well, they're right next to each other.
okay, well, and, does that take any time at all, or once we?
You know, putting that together would just be a matter of writing a contract and passing the right ordinances, so it wouldn't be difficult to do at all.
Public hearing?
No.
No? Okay, all right.
It's probably one of the simplest tax incentives there.
One of the things that you can't calculate yet, they're gonna expand this facility for about 3 times. So the potential we're not using the potential. We're using where
Yeah,
the
I
revenue would be.
That
would do is
50,000.
give them that, I mean, you can decide how you wanna do it, but, say 100% of what they bring in
Until,
until it's paid off. Or, you could do 50% of what they bring in. That would take a longer period of time, but you'd be getting some money, in.
operating.
So, that's kind of a
Yeah.
a gamble, which way it's gonna be the most.
And it would be for the amount that it cost us to,
Right.
Right, you wouldn't wanna, you'd want it to switch off at that point, and you have the ability to say in this, that it would switch off in a certain
okay,
amount, and so that you wouldn't overpay.
okay,
That's one of the problems with some other incentives is you overpay because you don't know, like property tax abatement,
oh.
for example, it's on a yearly basis, so
Okay,
maybe it's long, maybe it's short,
yeah, because we're not talking about some 10, 20-year thing,
No.
we're probably talking about just a couple of years.
Right, and if they increase, then they would pay it off faster.
Right.
If they didn't increase, it would still be paid off in some amount of
The biggest concern they have had is that the co-op.
time.
So
I've worked with them.
when you tax the citizens, that's the member. So when the sales tax goes on Como, and it comes to us, that's one of their concerns, keeping that.
Well, so if they're paying sales tax, they're already paying sales tax. So they're already probably paying state sales tax.
It's
Yeah.
the sales tax on the fiber and everything that they're gonna purchase to build out. So they're gonna pay sales tax no matter where they are.
Probably.
It'll just be advantageous to us. to have
We'll
that.
give them some
Yeah.
water and a road for it, so.
There you go.
Right.
Okay,
Good idea.
Yeah, they always throw that out. Well, you're just taxing our members. Well, but that's true of all sales taxes. Okay, like sales tax that people pay up here at Woods, it's just being paid by the
Right.
shoppers. I mean, let's make no
Yeah.
mistake about it.
it's all of us shopping. Okay, engineering report, DNR reimbursement phase 4, Keven, whatever you wanna talk about there.
Okay, so you guys are closing on your DNR financing next month, September 11th, I believe. That's whenever you guys can start paying me, paying your contractor, things like that. So how that works is, once you close, and at every board meeting, you'll be presented with a pay request for inspection fees, which is engineering, construction fees. And it'll come in a nice packet I'll put together for you guys. I've already reviewed it. You guys will have a chance to review, and then you'll either pass it or reject it, but hopefully, I've never had a rejected pay request. So
Is that the 490,000 that I'm looking at on this?
that's the design fees and all the development costs for engineering for the last 4 years.
Okay.
So I haven't billed you guys a single penny up until now,
Okay,
but you guys wouldn't pay that back until your loan closes anyway, so.
okay,
So anyway, construction is currently going. They're working in Castle Gardens now. They're getting ready to start a trunk line because they're out of grinder pumps and grinder stations for the next week and a half through Haynes Equipment. But that half of Castle Gardens is connected, so they're paying customers now. So the project is going really well so far. So, and I expect it to continue to go. You guys have a really good contractor, a really good equipment supplier. They're both local, so that's a good combination. Regarding phase 4, I'm not sure exactly why that's on here right now, but actually, go ahead.
What's his name, Corey?
Tony.
Cody
Tony.
hit me up with, where do you want us to go next? I go, you haven't started this one yet. He said, well, now's the time. So we're talking about going more on Camden Pass, is that the name of it? And that area, just to finish up that whole area where we've got phase 3, start looking at easements and stuff like that from phase 4. And apparently it takes a year to get financing and everything in line,
Takes
so.
longer than that. We've been working on this project for 4 years.
So we need to already start thinking about what phase 4 is gonna entail. So that's the only reason it was on there, because he was on my mind when I did that.
Okay, usually how that works at the start of project, you guys have, you guys basically have a work session where you hit target areas of Sunrise Beach that, the people would come, to the village and ask for utilities. Sunrise Beach has always been sewer follows water. So, that area that Tony was mentioning, that area has been served by water.
Okay.
So if you guys do want to do a sewer project, you can do it that way. You can't do both at the same time, a water and a sewer project. But I can help you guys,
Okay.
whenever the time does come.
Okay. And the only reason Keevan's on there is we did get that subrogation agreement on that. That was something that, McCaffrey brought up about the easement that we had. Apparently, he was concerned about maybe a foreclosure, so the bank agreed and put an agreement together for that. So that's a done deal.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Well, as the project goes on, do not feel, call me anytime. And I'll probably have you call Tony. Or it'll get resolved no matter what the issue is.
Well, and I'll be talking to you about the whole Como thing too, as we go further on that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Jared. Planning and zoning, we've got vertical bridge on here and everything, but I believe our attorney would like to have a closed session afterwards and give us some insight on vertical bridge. That's okay. Okay. Accounts payable. We have to approve this for the last time. Municipal court happened in July for the last time in Sunrise Beach, and now we are in the process of moving municipal court to Camden County, which is District 26. I believe we have the clerks there on board with helping us out. So we'll have the rest of our work that needs to be done here taken care of.
Yeah, we've been working on that, and we're very confident that certainly we'll be going by November 15th, I think is the court date,
Well,
and we're hoping earlier.
the September 1 date is the one I was concerned about. We have to have all of our files finished by September 1.
We are not concerned about that.
Okay. I'm not either.
They actually, that is a false date. They actually can give us 60 days past that. So, which they just weren't telling you all.
They do.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, Oscar said if it needed to be extended, they can look at extending it.
So,
Lydia called me today and she reiterated that September 1 was the date. I said,
Yes.
okay.
They can hold the feet to the fire as much as they want.
I don't really think there's any consequence if you're missing that September 1st date.
And actually, I might ask you to sit with me on the call for tomorrow to Kayla about that. She's supposed to be back tomorrow. We'll
Kayla, Water, Kayla,
one of the Kaylas.
okay.
Okay, the ordinance on here, number H, is for Steve Roth to be the temporary city clerk. And I do have the ordinance prepared, and basically it's saying that we will have Steve step in as the clerk because we have some very important loan documents coming up in DNR, and they must be signed by a clerk. So he has agreed to let us call him the temporary city clerk so we can get those documents signed by a clerk. So we need to pass an ordinance.
I make a motion that we pass the ordinance 2023-14, the ordinance for the temporary clerk.
I second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
So one of the things I've come here to do is get your all's procedures straightened out.
Okay.
So if you look on the little sheet that I gave you, in red box in the script, it's pass an ordinance.
Okay.
You gotta read it twice. I have to tell people about ordinances, it's kind of like, magic spell. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but you gotta say the right words and dance in the right way, and then it becomes magical. Doesn't really matter on this one so much, but on other ordinances, we wanna make sure we're doing it right.
Do you have to read the entire ordinance?
No, you
Okay.
only read it by title only.
Title only, okay, gotcha.
Todd, as you know, you met Todd, he came, one of his cities that we picked up, they've been reading the entire ordinance for years. And so they wrote all the ordinances really short. But no, you just can read the title only and save you a lot of trouble.
Okay,
So basically, to walk you through it real quick is, you have a motion to read it the first time, and you read it, motion to read it the second time. The second time, the vote has to be a roll call vote, which means you write down, look at you write down who voted how,
Trustee.
how each trustee voted.
and you're saying that this, because this is a temporary thing, we don't
Well,
have
let
to.
me see what's right. You could have done that by a resolution, which only requires, I mean, you could do this, appointing him doesn't require an ordinance.
Who told me that?
Told you that it didn't, or told you that it did?
Told me that I needed an ordinance.
No.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, it might have been Oscar. They may have said, you have to have a clerk.
well, you do have to have a clerk, but it doesn't require an ordinance to appoint a clerk. So, I don't know what you can do. I mean, if you want, it's a good practice drill. If you don't just wanna make the motion, you can just make a motion.
To make him temporary clerk.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I
so
make
we
a
don't
motion.
even need this
Make a motion that we make Steve Roth
temporary.
temporary clerk.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
My whole speech was wasted.
So it's,
It is a long over.
we did not pass an ordinance, we simply voted to make him temporary clerk. Okay, perfect, thank you. Yes, okay, on new business, just to introduce to the public, this is our new attorney, Nathan Nicholas from the Lauber Group in Jefferson City.
Welcome, Nathan.
Good to be here. We're thrilled to start representing Sunrise Beach. I think we can do a lot of good for you all. I drove through the town. I have kind of a mental checklist in my mind when I look at a town. I've been doing this for 30 years. I can tell whether a town has got potential or it's headed downhill, let's just say. And you guys have all the things that you need. You've still got a police force. A lot of towns don't anymore, believe it or not. A lot of towns your size, bigger than you, don't have police forces anymore, so that's really good. You got school, you got lots of businesses. Things look pretty clean. Your public works guy, he seems to know what he's doing. So, in my mind, I'm excited to help you guys move forward.
Very good. Okay, we're gonna need a motion to accept the resignations of Debbie Thompson and Rhonda Steele.
I make a motion that we accept the resignations of Debbie Thompson and Ron Steele.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We need a motion to remove Jenny Nelson and Debbie Thompson from all bank accounts.
I make a motion to remove Jenny Nelson and Debbie Thompson from all bank accounts.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Need a motion to add Steve Roth to all bank accounts.
I make a motion that we add Steve Roth, our city manager, to all bank accounts.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Now, I'm sorry to keep interrupting.
That's okay.
In addition to him, I assume is one of you all on the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I would like to go ahead at this meeting and ask for a motion to hire a city clerk full-time and a deputy clerk / use of temporary services too. Charlene she's willing to work part-time, but not full-time. So we will need a full-time clerk. And the reason that we've kind of slowed that process down is because Steve Roth wants to be involved in the interview process. So we will start that when he gets here on Monday. So,
I'd like to make a motion then,
okay,
hiring of a city clerk full-time and deputy clerk, and the use of temporary services to fill in.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
The only reason I have this city hall easement here, as everyone might have noticed, we have rocks piled, at a certain area outside. That property belongs to Mr. Williams, and he wanted to designate that property to himself and for us not to park there anymore. So that's why we've added parking on our portion of the land, so we would not be infringing. That's the only reason that's on there. We don't really need to speak about the MOPERM at all. Municipal software versus QuickBooks. The only reason I bring this up at this meeting is because I really want to look into purchasing that software. And what I'm doing right now is analyzing the cost difference. The software that I'm referring to is specific to municipalities. It is not like QuickBooks, which is specific to businesses. So we will actually have software that will lend itself to municipal business as far as
Which brand are you looking at?
G-Works.
Okay.
G-Works is a core solution, and what we can get with that, and I know I've got it in here somewhere, is we can eliminate 3 different operations that go on in here just by getting that software. And what it will do, it'll have a financial hub, which will be general ledger, accounts payable, bank reconciliation, and accounts receivable. It will also have reporting, which is an HR hub, which will be payroll, and we can even put an online time clock. And it'll have time management, which is front desk, I'm not sure what that is. G-Works payments, because right now we're using in-court, and we don't have court anymore. So that's kind of silly to be paying in-court to take our utility bills. So it does have a utilities billing system and user management. And it also, the full utility billing is service request, meter management, everything. I mean, so it would all be in one solution where we would have it on all 3 computers, and we wouldn't have this roundabout, as we're finding out, how many steps we're taking just to receive a water bill, whereas this is all encompassed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you call Judy Thompson in Fayette, and I'll give you her number after the meeting, they use G-Works.
G-Works.
In where?
Fayette.
Fayette, okay. I know he sent me a list of all the different cities around us that use it. I think Eldon uses it.
Yeah, Eldon.
Okay. But I mean, it just makes sense because when we look at QuickBooks, you know, you're looking at an accounting system that's made for a business. And we can't use it for like the TIF loans and the CIDs and all that. So it just makes sense to me. Now, I haven't gotten the pricing on the in-court, but I think by getting rid of all 3, the QuickBooks fee, because we're paying somewhere around $700 or $800 a year for QuickBooks. We're paying for in-court, and we're paying for the other software. By the time we pay for all those, the cost of the core, G-Works core service is, first of all, you have to get it put in, which is anywhere from $3,600 to $4,000. And then the annual fee is $4,500, which is $375 a month. And I think it's a wash. I haven't gotten there yet, but I think it's a wash.
All your categories are gonna be labeled correctly, because they're not business categories, they're city
Right.
categories.
And before we do that, you know, I would like to really clean up QuickBooks.
Okay.
So,
I'd like to make a motion regarding QuickBooks, and, as you all may know or not know, I've been on the board 1 year and a half, election is next year. But the whole group, as they did an honorable job in being present here and really the city, we don't know where we stand completely on all financial matters. We have a CPA, we have an audit, but we don't have, I'm gonna call it a compliance review or a detail of all items to make sure that when we're taking over as a new group, new attorney, new city manager, new board, I think we need a clean sweep, make sure everything's kosher. That's what I'm going to make a motion that we, probably spend about, well, the maximum would be in forensics about $10,000. You can use your own CPA firm, and Sue and I were talking about that just a little bit ago, and that'll be somewhat less because she's already handled all the books. And I like our president accountant. So I would like to make a motion that you grant us the authority to have this comprehensive compliance, it's comprehensive financial compliance audit, up to the maximum of $10,000 stretched over a period of time. I make that motion.
Second,
All in favor?
I do have one question. When you're talking about doing this, is this also gonna give us a detailed information of what the city's assets are as far as properties?
I don't know the
I
answer to
don't
that.
either.
I mean, I know that I have looked,
Why don't we reserve that it has to include that?
I don't know if you can get that from an
I
audit.
don't guarantee that on it. You'll just have to go out, what we have to do is just go out and physically,
We have to find deeds and titles and stuff, and I haven't laid my hands on all of those. We do have some in a bank box.
we also go like, how many water towers do we have, how many vehicles do we have?
Vehicles, properties?
Yes.
vacant
Well, they have an
properties?
asset.
A full list,
Yes.
and Scott, that would go along with your idea as far as trying to get rid of a lot of the property that we have that we don't need sitting here, that we have parked right now that can be disposed of, so. Okay, we'll work on that. Anything else on the agenda that anybody wants to talk about? It did pass. That motion for the audit passed, right? Yep, okay. All right, so that's all on this agenda. Any other questions on it before we go into visitor comments? No? Okay, we will open up the floor for visitor comments. If you wish to speak, please stand up, state your name, and we'll give you a couple minutes to talk. Anybody? Okay.
I'm curious, in Lori, you're allowing ATVs to be licensed, I guess, once they meet a certain criteria with turn signals and stuff like that. And I'd like to ask the board if you can put on your agenda for some consideration for us to allow that here in our little city.
Fortunately for your question, we have gotten a copy of Lori's new ordinance, and it is pretty comprehensive. I actually have to look at it and see if it's gonna work for us.
Cool.
Any city street under 35 miles an hour, they charge $15 a year for a permit, and that permit is only given if you have had an inspection, which includes you have to have insurance, you have to have lights, and I think
Turn
brakes
signals.
and turn signals and everything. We have a copy of their ordinance, and we're gonna look at that.
Cool.
See if we can do that.
Would that be street legal? Is that what they call it?
So we've been talking about this for quite some time on it, and what we're looking at is having it kind of like this, but it's going to have a CC limit,
Speed limit?
CC limit.
Engines.
So it has to be at least a certain amount of CCs
Oh, that makes sense.
to ensure that it can keep up with the flow of traffic.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask that the board do some traffic studies on our side streets also. And I will be recommending that if we do it, it's gonna be hours of operation, 30 minutes before sunrise, 30 minutes after sunset, and nothing on Highway 5. It does work for Lori, and it does work for some cities like Eldon. However, Sunrise Beach, Highway 5, in my opinion and MoDOT's opinion, is just too unsafe for UTVs, no matter how fast they go. Because if you get rear-ended in a UTV, it doesn't have those crush points like a motor vehicle does to help protect you. But there's a lot of different things that the chairman and I have been talking about, and a lot of different studies we're gonna be looking at to try to come up with what's gonna be best for the community and public safety.
Yeah, well, I just know, like in my little neighborhood, I mean, I'm really restricted now. There's somebody put signs up everywhere over there.
Yeah, we do have that on our list of things to look at, so,
Oh, great.
yes, ma'am.
Well, on that note, I mean, I'm getting ready to have a child that's getting ready to drive, and the roads are so congested as it is, that it's scary to have a young person driving on these roads without having UTVs. And I understand going around in your community, but a lot of these people are wanting to drive back and forth to the lake, or like the bars around the area, so where are they coming back and forth from drinking and driving with the UTVs on top of the actual traffic, which we're overloaded with in this area anyway? But I understand that, but I mean, we've got cars coming in here by the 10,000 people coming in here in the summertime, and then having UTVs on top of that in this area on these lake roads that aren't, wide enough for cars as it is to have UTVs coming up, and it's hard.
There's a lot on the restructuring of the road ordinances and stuff that the chairman and I have been talking about, and things we can do to make the roads safer. And it's gonna be probably a little bit, especially with the way things are right now, before we roll anything out. But her and I have been working together a lot on trying to bring in some ordinances and change some things that will really help with, one, the flow of traffic, and two, public safety with pedestrians walking and bicycles that we have now that historically we've not had in Sunrise Beach.
And you see it all day long, how many wrecks are on TVs. I mean, it's left and right, you see it weekly. It's a hard thing,
I was pretty much like you were thinking, but when they added, the more he added, the before and after dark type situation, you can't be driving, that'll eliminate a lot of bar traffic. Well, hopefully.
Well, let me ask you this, does the DWI apply to driving a UTV?
DWI is
So if they were
operating
driving
a
a car or
motor
a
vehicle while
UTV,
on top.
whichever.
A 50cc scooter to a moped to an 18-wheeler, it's a motor vehicle. You still have to be licensed, you still have to be sober.
So if they couldn't drive a UTV, they would still be driving around in their car.
Correct. And I've gotten several DWI UTVs throughout the years.
Yes, sir.
I might add, I'm Anthony Chambers. I just live here off of Deer Valley. This is actually my first attendance at one of these meetings. I wanted to kind of touch on your point about the roads, particularly Deer Valley. I don't know if somehow like a children at play sign,
Right.
because
just fly there.
yeah, it's just, and I know you guys like to sit there too. I see them sit there, just in that storage unit sometimes, and you guys grab them, and that's awesome, but it is just
Is it a
incredible
big
how fast those
problem?
guys.
There are apartment complexes they have there.
Oh, it's the road.
We actually
Yeah.
face
And
the road, so,
There are a lot of children that live in that complex and
It's-
play near the road.
yeah.
Their bus stop is right there.
And there actually isn't a bus stop sign on that road,
Do we need
indicating
an
that there is a
ordinance
bus
to
stop.
get a sign that says children at play, or?
You do not need an ordinance to have that, it's just a warning, so that it doesn't have any criminal, but I will tell you, and again, I've done this is a question that comes up all the time in lots of cities, okay? So here's the thing, the children, first of all, never use the signs that say slow children play, that's just insulting to the children. But the children playing signs, the studies all show that initially they're effective, but they very quickly lose their effect,
Kind of like a speed limit sign.
like speed limit signs. And so really, what I would recommend that you all do, if you really want to do something, is not use those, but I don't know, you will call them, there's the little ones you can buy yourself. They look like a little turtle holding a flag. Those are actually effective if you put them out and take them back when the children are playing. And so what some cities have done is bought a number of those and then just lent them out to people in kind of a rotating, basis, so that people have that. But because those appear and disappear all the time, they have more impact on people.
Interesting.
I could see that being effective in certain areas. The only issue, and I don't know if you've ever been down that road, is it's very curvy, and my concern personally would be distracting the drivers more than they already are. There's tight mailboxes, it's a fast-paced road, it's a bar road, it's like a lot of the lake.
That's one of the things that we're discussing on working and trying to make sure if we can bring some resolutions and ordinances to ensure safer streets. So that's
Sure.
your guys'.
I just kind of want to brush on her point, because, it's just something that had been on my mind and.
Because it's of my opinion that 35 miles an hour on like Deer Valley, Beechwood, and the vast majority of our lake roads is too fast.
I think, yeah, I agree.
When 35 was put in the mid 90s, and we didn't have much traffic, great, but
Absolutely.
now with all the RVs, the commercial
Absolutely.
traffic, pedestrians, I'm gonna hope and see that we can kind of work on those speed limits.
I think 25 would be plenty, not,
What's that?
I would think 25 would be plenty on those roads.
Yeah,
There's a,
25.
there's a, on Beechwood, as you go around the bend, there's a family right there, they got the signs up there, I mean, they always catch my attention. But there's also some ripples in the road there too, which really catches my attention.
That's another thing, the road conditions, especially 535 there, all over the place. People are dodging potholes and they patch them and they don't last long. It's,
On the sides of the
Burris is
roads are great.
wonderful. You go down Burris, look at this, and you go over here and like, oh my God, you want to take your four-wheeler.
Yeah.
Literally.
Well,
You're almost forced
it's
to
not
together,
very,
to
very
go
bad,
around those
but yeah.
potholes, yeah.
Oh,
That-
Lord, it's-
And I will mention to you that, some years ago, way before my time,
That's
someone decided to take away the property tax. So now we're working on sales tax only in the city. So when it comes to fixing the roads that we absolutely need fixed, Andy, who is our new supervisor for Public Works, he knows how to do all this road work because he came from the county, so he knows how to do asphalt patching and everything else. We don't have a roller, we don't have a truck, we don't have the equipment. And we need to figure out how we can afford to try to start moving some money towards road repair. I know it's a big issue.
On that, have we ever thought as a city to reestablish
Good question.
property tax?
I would
We've got to be
like
kind of
us to
forward
get on
thinking
that.
of where everything's going here.
Mhm.
We're gonna need funds to build things to support the infrastructure
Absolutely.
of everything we're
Absolutely.
lagging on now.
You got a lot more population than what they had
Yeah.
before.
And now, it's harder to get a property tax than it is to get rid of one, I can tell you that.
Absolutely, let's take it away, it looks like.
I mean, we have to bring it to a vote, obviously, and the residents in the city limits of the voting is only like 470 people.
Yeah.
And, as per our last election, about 50 people voted. So if those same 50 come and vote no, then you're at,
You also
we
have,
really have to sell
But
the,
if they cut,
Sell the-
yes, also like,
there is,
pass that easy.
there's a law in the state of Missouri right now that I think it won't help us that much, but if you're 65 or older, your real estate taxes are locked.
Yeah.
So that's coming into fruition and could pass. And then if you think that everybody down here is as old as me and Sue, Steve.
but no, well, and when we are prepared to go forward with trying to get a property tax back, we really are gonna have to show you what that is going to do for the city. I mean, we do have a lot of plans on board as far as trying to attract new businesses, trying to make this more of a destination city rather than a fly-by city. We're going to need more funds for all of those things, so be prepared, it's probably going to be.
Yeah, it didn't used to be much money, a vote was like $15 or something, it was cheap, I mean, it was really, really low.
If we do a tax, does it cover everybody? Do people just have secondary houses and
Property owners.
No,
It would
real
be property owners in the city limits. Right.
Real estate, yeah.
Or personal property stored in the city.
Yeah.
So if you had a boat and left it here, they would be taxable.
But that's only if it's licensed here, isn't that right? If they keep it licensed in Florida like a lot of people do, or someplace else, Kansas City, that's where the personal property taxes go, it's not gonna come here.
Well, I think Jeff is
I'm not
pertaining
sure.
to real estate,
Real
Yes.
estate.
not,
That's what it used to be,
not personal property,
Right.
real estate.
real estate tax.
So yes, it is on our long list of things we wanna do, so we are looking at that.
I kind of have a three-part question. Instead of spending the $10,000 on a forensic audit, if you were to get your books up to date and maybe audit your books like semi-annually, and then you could spend that $10,000 on equipment that's needed for the roads. And then you could go forward with updating that system. And then you would have your books up to date, you could keep some accountability going forward. You could have your accountant keep it up to date, go and keep that going forward and use that big bulk $10,000 on up to date equipment that you're needing for the roads.
No,
And
that's a good point. I don't know that it's gonna cost $10,000
That's the
to our
maximum.
book.
We've looked at three. Our CPA we have audited financial statements.
Yeah, she has to do an audit every year
That
anyway.
doesn't dig into the depth that I'm talking about. I wanna go back over every old bill, I wanna start fresh. That's what I wanna do.
is that the best use of taxpayers' money though? Every old bill going
Well,
back
I
to
was
how
voted
long?
in to do
You might
that.
find $1 million.
You might, but if
Yeah,
if
yeah, I
you
mean,
have,
there's a chance you might
if
find $1
you have a
million.
yearly audit, they audit your books to make sure that
No,
you're
no, no.
accountable.
It's a totally different audit, but the yearly audit is totally different than what we like.
We have a state audit every year. That's mandatory. The state audit is to prove that we are a solvent city. It doesn't really say, oh, you're spending this here and you're spending this here.
An audit really does is it looks at your procedures.
Mhm.
Your procedures are correct. It doesn't really tell you if there's money missing, or it definitely doesn't tell you if money spent that shouldn't have been spent.
It doesn't?
No.
No.
No,
It tells you where it's
forensic
spent.
audit.
Forensic does, yeah.
I would've just showed
But
like
it's
a balance.
something for premises of that to actually make this function, we need to know what's available.
Sure.
And without that, we don't have a clue.
I think you'll find a lot of that when you make the conversion. You'll start discovering, well, what is this account, what is this account?
Right.
And the accountant, our current accountant who does our state audit, she was supposed to come last week. I asked her to wait until the new city manager was here. If she comes and sits down for 2 days with our system and everything, I think she'll probably find anything that we may need to find.
And that would cost us even close to that, it'd be
Yeah.
very cheap.
It'll be what we pay every year anyway.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I guess I'll ask this question because it seems to hang here. Do we suspect any wrongdoing?
No,
No,
not at all.
no,
Where
it's just.
I expressed, when I started talking about this today, we're all virtually new. The past regime was here playing forever. I'm not checking them, I'm checking, are we doing everything right, and are we starting off fresh?
I understand that,
So-
but this will turn out anything that would be negative also, I would think.
Well, I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
I
Well, we
don't
all,
think we're really looking for negativity. I think we're
just looking
basically,
for a baseline.
yes.
Gotcha.
I think we'd like to
Budget
know
control.
where we
I understand
are.
with the total turnover, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
start
we need
fresh.
to know what's allocated, what's there to pay that allocation, you know.
Yeah, I get it.
We
There's
still like,
things that go back so far, and, even when we brought Woods here, I mean, we have a tax abatement for them. Actually, it's not a TIP, it's a CID or something.
17 years, I think it was.
And it's coming to its end in 26, so I mean, now would be a good time for us to see, okay, so what do we have to work with if we wanna fix roads, or if we wanna buy equipment, or how many people can we hire? I mean, those are things that we are not finding as easily as we think we should, so we're just looking for some accounting help.
That answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. Very well.
Okay, is there any other questions? Otherwise, we're going to have a closed session to discuss, believe it or not, a cell tower again. We have some new information from our new attorney about the cell tower that is being proposed, and we'd like to discuss that in a closed session.
So we have a motion.
I'd like to make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Session is closed.
You guys need to be ready to-